The US Olympian Gwen Berry absolutely embarrasses herself with fake claims about the national anthem. In this video, we're going to take a look at the futile attempts by Berry to try to justify her insulting, disrespectful antics at the Olympic trials, how her understanding of history and the national anthem are patently false, and why her antics reveal a trend in our nation that's even far more menacing. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, we are your daily fake news antidote. As each and every day, we provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we dive in here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video. And that, my friends, is Keto Elevate. If you want the benefits of elevated ketone levels, but without actually having to do all the difficult parts of the keto diet, cutting out them carbs and the breads and the like, you'll want Keto Elevate. I use it myself. It tastes great, curbs my appetite for hours, and if you click on that link below right now, you're going to get your very first shipment of Keto Elevate on its way to you right now at a whopping 51% off the regular price, so don't wait. Click on that link below and reap the rewards that Keto Elevate can bring to your life today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. US Olympian Gwen Berry is firing back against the avalanche of criticism that she received in response to her ridiculously disrespectful antics at the latest Olympic trials a few days back. As many of you know, Berry turned her back to the American flag during the playing of the national anthem during the awards ceremony at the Olympic trials over the weekend. Berry actually said she was, quote, pissed that the Star-Spangled Banner played as she received her third-place bronze medal. And so as it was playing, she turned to face the stands rather than the flag before holding up a black shirt that read, "Activist Athlete." Now, if you want to see how such antics are actually destroying the Democratic Party, okay, you will definitely want to check out a video I did just a couple of days back on how CRT, critical race theory, is absolutely crushing the Democrats as we speak. But in an interview with Black News Channel, Berry denied that she ever said that she hated her country. Quote, "I never said that I hated the country. I never said that. All I said was I respect my people enough to not stand for or acknowledge something that disrespects them. I love my people, point blank, period." Now, we're going to get into this notion of my people. It's a very interesting phrase and very instructive as to what's really going on here, particularly as it relates actually to President Trump. And we're going to get into that in due course in this video, so make sure you watch until the end because you're going to absolutely love it. I think it's mind-blowing. But I want to continue with what she had to say. She said that her issue was not with her country, but rather with her country's national anthem. I do think we're splitting hairs here. I love my country. I just hate its customs and traditions. But regardless, Berry said she specifically has an issue with a line in the Star-Spangled Banner, right, our national anthem, which she claims alludes to catching and beating slaves. Berry said, quote, "If you know your history, you know the full song of the national anthem. The third paragraph speaks to slaves in America, our blood being slain all over the floor. It's disrespectful and it does not speak for Black Americans. It's obvious. There is no question." It's obvious. There's no question, according to Gwen Berry. It's obvious, it's absolute, and it is unquestionable that the national anthem is disparaging of slaves and Black Americans. No debate whatsoever. Obvious, unquestionable. Now, if you don't know, and you probably don't since most Americans don't know the third stanza of the national anthem, I know we used to sing it. We used to sing the first and fourth stanzas in elementary school. The fourth is so beautiful. It has that line, "Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation." It's a beautiful hymn. We sang that fourth stanza all the time. But the third stanza that this radical leftist activist is referring to reads, "And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more. Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and the slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph doth wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave. So that's what she's referring to in terms of the anthem, speaking of slaves. In her words, our blood being slain all over the floor. Now, I guess she's being hyperbolic here because, I mean, you heard it. There's no mention of blood being slain all over the floor. I don't know where she got that phrase from. Let's just give her, she's being hyperbolic, right? But that was her justification for turning her back on the flag and dismissing and disrespecting the national anthem. So is she right? Is Gwen Berry right that our national anthem is, yes, racist? Interestingly, CNN did an in-depth analysis of the anthem a couple of years back. CNN. They featured 3 historians and their commentary on the more confusing and difficult lines in the Francis Scott Key poem. And in that in-depth analysis, Alan Taylor, a Pulitzer Prize-winning historian who specializes in the American colonial revolution and early republic, said explicitly that the line about blood, their blood has washed out their foul footsteps pollution, has absolutely nothing to do with American slaves or pro-slavery language. Quote, it's referring to the British poison ground, their polluting presence on American soil, which the context of the phrase clearly shows. So much for the blood reference being obvious and unquestionable, right? So Berry's obviously and unquestionably wrong when it comes to her referencing the blood of slaves in America. In her words, quote, our blood being slain all over the floor, whatever that means. It's not even in the anthem, for heaven's sakes. In terms of the other line, no refuge could save the hireling and the slave. Again, CNN in an even earlier piece pointed out the historical context of the phrase. They featured Mark Clegg, an associate professor of musicology and American culture at the University of Michigan and a co-founder of the Star-Spangled Music Foundation. He told CNN, quote, the Star-Spangled Banner in no way glorifies or celebrates slavery. Again, gang, this is CNN. This is CNN saying this. The Star-Spangled Banner in no way glorifies or celebrates slavery. The middle 2 verses of Key's lyric vilify the British enemy in the War of 1812, what Key refers to in the verse as hirelings and slaves. This enemy included both whites and blacks, largely British professional soldiers, hirelings, but also the core of colonial Marines, slaves. The colonial Marines were escaped black American slaves who joined British forces because of the promise of freedom in return for fighting their former masters. Fortunately, Britain honored this promise after the war, relocating the former slaves and their families to Halifax and Trinidad. For Francis Scott Key, right, the author of the Star-Spangled Banner, for Key, however, the British mercenaries were scoundrels, and the colonial Marines were traitors who threatened to spark a national insurrection. It has nothing to do, according to this historian, has nothing to do with glorifying slavery. Again, so much for it being obvious and without question. But now, I want to address this comment that Gwen Berry made when she said, I respect my people enough not to stand or acknowledge for something that disrespects them. I love my people, point blank. Because I think that that comment is at the heart of what's really going on here, okay? But first, in celebration of Independence Day, an unapologetic celebration, our awesome merch store has some super savings for you. For just this week, buy 2 of our amazing Patriot t-shirts, and you'll get a 3rd one absolutely free. So this is a perfect opportunity to get yourself and your loved ones and your friends some of the coolest, most patriotic shirts and merch available simply by clicking on the link below. But this is a limited time offer. The sale ends on midnight after July 4th, so do not wait. Click on that link below. Take advantage of our buy 2, get 1 free offer today. All right, so this comment by Gwen Berry that her actions in desecrating the national anthem were out of love and respect for, quote, my people, I think foregrounds what's really at issue, what's really going on here. This is not about a national anthem. This is not about stanzas and verses. This is ultimately about the rise of what French sociologist Michel Mafusoli predicted back in the 1970s and 80s, which is something he called neo-tribalism. Neo-tribalism is the notion that the world is slowly but surely reorganizing around racial and ethnic identities. And the basic argument here is that with the death of liberal globalism, which has been collapsing now for at least 3 decades, with the inevitable death of liberal globalism, The world is basically fracturing, okay? It's breaking up. And populations are increasingly reorganizing themselves around their own shared identity markers, such as nation, culture, custom, ethnicity, and race. And this is basically what we're seeing here with Gwen Berry. When she talks about my people, she is not talking about the American people. She's talking rather in highly racial, neo-tribalist terms. And this is in stark contrast to the America First vision of Donald Trump. Trump was a champion of what's called civic nationalism that sees the nation as a single unified people, whereas Gwen Berry is a radical proponent of what's called ethno-nationalism, which reduces her people to a single race or ethnicity. And that is precisely what we're seeing in terms of the major clash in our nation today. It's not a clash between liberals versus conservatives. It's not a clash between right versus left, per se, Republican versus Democrats. Increasingly, we're seeing that the clash is between civic nationalists versus ethno-nationalists. It's a clash between those who love this country and its customs and traditions versus those who despise it and want to balkanize around cultural Marxist identity politics. That's the battle that's raging before us. And Gwen Berry has shown to all the world, obviously and without question, which side she's on. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on how the ratings for the liberal late-night clowns are imploding. You are not going to want to miss this. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.